Hello, Education 1030 students. I hope everyone had a great spring break. So, this week we are back at it and we are going to be looking at Chapter 6. So, to recap before we get into Chapter 6, I just want to remind you that last week you had to turn in the midterm check in. We are going to begin talking about how do we learn the most out of college. This is a way for you to really dive into connecting to how you learn best, right? So, looking back at chapter 4, we were talking about learning what type of learner you were, how to use that to help you, what kind of strategies could you incorporate to make sure that you understand, meaning what should you do before class, during lectures, or in class, and then what should you do after class. Well, if your teacher is assigning you, or your instructor is assigning you to read something from a college textbook or article, this is really going to help offer you tips and tools into reading college textbooks. So, when we talk about active reading, what are we talking about? We're looking at increasing comprehension. So, you actually understand what you're reading and really understanding the differences in reading different types of texts based on the subject. For instance, math, you will be doing different things and you will be doing different things and strategies that you're incorporating is going to look a little different based on what subject. So, social science will not look the same as it will in science and math. So really, it's focusing on how do you improve your reading? How do you improve your vocabulary development when you're looking at more rigorous material, when you're looking at articles that you may not understand? So improving comprehension is big. So you have to understand what you're reading so you can make connections to the content. So that's really what we're going to be diving into when we're looking at chapter 6. So, for your resources, I have provided you with the chapter slides as well as outlines. So, the outlines throughout the semester, we've been calling them reading organizers, right? So, these are notes for you that help you in terms of seeing what the most important material is and what should you cover. So, that outline is there to help you. Well, you are actually going to be preparing an outline based on chapter 6 reading material. And you're also going to be preparing your own reading organizer. So that will be two assignments that you will be submitting to the Dropbox as well as completing the chapter 6 quiz. So for your activities, you will read chapter 6 and look at the PowerPoint slides. So once you're finished reading and looking at the PowerPoint slides, I have also included some links here to videos that might help you gain a better understanding of comprehension. So, one of the things when we're learning about how do you read for college textbooks, you have to really look at comprehension component, how to remember more of what you read. So, this video is going to really dive into chapter 6 a little bit more and let you know kind of this tips and strategies that will help you along when you're trying to gain more comprehension. The second one is to think about time management, right? You have to be efficient with your time because you have a lot of responsibilities. You have a lot of assignments and a lot of classes you're taking at one time because of these courses will provide some insight into what you're learning about in class, but it's going to be up to you to read the material assigned to you outside of class. So, how do you read everything that you have to in a more efficient time? What does that look like when we're talking about reading them more efficiently? So that's going to give you some tips and strategies. So I wanted to talk to you before we get into the assignments, the PowerPoint. I wanted to highlight some important things that I want you to be looking at when you are going through chapter 6. The first thing really that I want you to concentrate on in your text is when we're talking about active reading. So, active reading is just like active participation, which we talked about. It really helps you stay focused, right? And that's also going back to that staying efficient um, component. So, when we're doing active reading, there's some things that you're going to have to do that's going to help you retain the information. So, the four steps in active reading is what I really want you to concentrate on. So, that's previewing, marking what you read, staying focused, and reviewing. And throughout the slides, the first few slides, it's really going to be talking to you what this looks like, right? When we're trying to preview the material, we're mapping, we're outlining, we're making flashcards, we're taking chapter tours. So, this is really going to help you plan your reading time. The second step is really focusing on How can I make some notes in the margins? What should I be highlighting or marking? How do I do it purposefully? How do I take notes while I'm reading or marking in my book? And then how do I stay focused, right? So that goes back to time management and our chapter 3. And then the last one is reviewing, and what should that look like? What are some strategies to help me review the material? Okay, so those are the things that I want you to look at. The second part that I wanted to point out for chapter 6 is really looking at what are the different strategies for the different subjects, right? So strategies are going to look different depending on what class it is. So for math text, you will be doing different things than when you are doing science text. And then social sciences and humanities will look a little bit different. So these are things that you have to keep in mind when you're trying to gain comprehension. Now, the last part we look at is, well, how do you improve your reading? What are some tips that's going to help us, right? How much time should I spend studying? With that being said, of those things that you look at, it's going to help you create not only your outline, but your own reading organizer. So I kind of started you off here so you have a template to go by. So the first assignment you're going to do is creating an outline. Now, throughout the term, you have been given reading notes or reading organizers that help you and have outlines there for you to look at and highlight the most important material. Here is an example I gave you at the top, right? Showing you how you complete a formal outline, which is actually in your textbook. So, the top section, you can download this assignment, and when you download it, you can actually type in it. It probably be best for you just to either type underneath or just delete this box altogether. But something I want to point out is you'll see that a formal outline, it kind of looks like what we've been doing the entire time. You have your main heading, which is your Roman numeral, okay? So Roman numerals are important, because they are allowing you to see the most important topics. So each Roman numeral is a heading, right? A topic that we're going to be talking about. Then you have capital letters underneath, and you'll see how we kind of space them out and indent. The next thing after Roman numeral is going to be the supporting topic, right? So this is the subheading. And then under the subheading, you're going to list some examples if they're appropriate. Now, some subheadings will not have say an example, and some of them will. If you're using examples, you will have to use numbers. Okay, so there's 3 things to remember when you are completing your outline. Always put your heading using a Roman numeral. Then you're going to put your subtopics, the relationships you're showing in between, and then the numbers are your examples. So I kind of showed you here as an example. Do not type in this box because this is just an example. A lot of students find it confusing, so once they're finished typing, they'll go ahead and delete it. Now remember, whenever you're using previewing and you're going through your textbook, that's going to give you a good indication of those topics, right? So it's going to let you know what you're going to get out of the chapter before you start, and those will be your main topics that you will be listing here. Once you get done with that, that is what you're going to be putting inside of Dropbox or submitting to Dropbox. The second thing you're going to be doing is completing that reading organizer. Now, these go hand in hand, and there's going to be a lot of connections, but it's important for you to know not only how to do the outline, but to do the reading organizer. So I'm going to show you what I have here. Now, the reading organizer kind of lists the main ideas just like you do with your outline. The difference is that we're really looking at what's the overall idea, right, of this reading, because it's important for you to encapsulate that, because that means you have a good understanding of what you're reading. So you're going to tell me what the overall idea of chapter 6 is. You are going to give me what the main idea is. So those inside of your outline, that would be your Roman numeral 1. And then supporting ideas would be your capital letters. Okay, and you'll see that. So you should be listing that here. Okay. The third thing is key terms. Now, key terms are like definition or terminology. So what are the most important key terms you got out of chapter 6? And what are the definitions, or what do they mean to you? The fourth thing is the conclusion. So this means, what conclusions did you derive from reading that chapter 6? Yeah, what did you get out of it? And then we have the last thing, which is what are three things that you remember that stuck out to you about chapter 6? Okay. So, the idea behind this organizer activity is really to organize your thoughts and to encompass the most important things that you should get out of that chapter. Okay. And you could do this for all of the chapters that you have or that you read. And really, you can kind of edit this and make it your own for lots of different subject matters. You could use it in social science. You could use in some points, you could use it, say, in a math, but it would look a little bit different in a math class. You could use it in a psychology class, a history class, anything where you have a lot of reading, where you have to gain comprehension, and maybe it has a lot of important things. Um, really, any chapters you could use this. You can tailor it to support the subject matter that you are reading. So just keep that in mind that you can use it in multiple ways for multiple subjects. And then lastly, of course, you will be doing your chapter 6 quiz. Okay, so you'll see if you get in chapter 6, you will have, and you scroll down um, underneath the chapter assignments, you're going to see the Dropbox. Now, there is only one Dropbox, so when you click on it, you should be able to submit both assignments. So, what you'll do is first complete the Chapter 6 outline and save it to your device, and then do the same thing with your reading organizer. And then you will be submitting it to one Dropbox. So, let me click over and I'll show you what it looks like for student view. So, when you click on it, you'll go click on Dropbox. It should come up, and then you'll see here if you scroll down, chapter 6, there's only one Dropbox, but when you click in it, it's going to be allow you to upload and submit more than one file. So you'll just add your outline first, and then once you add it, you'll be able to go back and then add your second file, which will be your reading organizer. And then when you're finished adding both files, they should show up here, and then you should be able to hit submit. All right, so that covers chapter 6. I hope, and remember, all of that is due on the 14th Thursday. Everything opened last Thursday. Some of us may have not been able to get in and look at it, but that's fine. So you will have until that time at 11:30 to submit it. All right, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And I hope everyone has a fabulous week. All right, until next time, take care.